Our shir this morning is dedicated by our ER monthly sponsor, anonymous sponsor in the Mitzchus of the yard site of the Refuah Shalem of Tzvi Meir Halevi Ben Saralea. We hope that in the merit of our Talmud Torah, Tzvi Meir together with Kol Cholei Yisrael will have a complete and enduring refuah. And also the shir is dedicated this morning by the Kazovsky family in honor of Baruch Fischel's 65th birthday. Mazel tov, Adnei ve'esrim shanim tovos. Mazel tov. We'll say with that, let's begin. Says the Mishnah. Zanav ha'egel, she'ena ma'agaz la'arkov. So we'll say, so continuing in the wide world of Mumin. So remember again, you have the tail of the egel, the tail of the calf that does not reach until the arko. We'll see what the arko is in just a little bit. So we'll say, so that is a mum. Amru chachamim, kol marbis agalim kain. Chachamim said, because this is the normal maturation of an egel. Kol zman shahayu megadlin, heimnin tachos. As long as the egel is growing, ultimately again the tail continues to stretch and continues to elongate. Ezu arkov sha'amru. What is the arkov? Rabbi Chanina ben Antigonus Omer ba'arkov shebe'emtza hayerech. It's referring ultimately, as we'll see, to the joint in the middle of the thigh. So here we're seeing that again the tail of the egel must be a certain length, and if it does not satisfy that length, ultimately it constitutes a mum. Type of mem aleph. Tana. Ultimately, when we speak about the arko, we're speaking about the upper joint in the thigh and not the lower joint. And this joint actually is externally visible in a camel. So if you look at a camel leg, you could see that joint obviously in the egel, it's not visible on the outside, only visible on the inside. But on the gamal, on the camel, it's actually visible on the outside as well. Says the Mishnah. So what says the Mishnah over here, an interesting statement, seemingly redundant statement, for all of these mumin. Rabbi said what this sounds like over here is for all of the mumin we've mentioned in this parak, for all of these mumin, you are permitted to shech the bechar and to redeem psuli hamokdashin. Also remember again, psuli hamokdashin means an animal that was set aside for sacrificial service ultimately develops a mum. That animal can then be redeemed. So the Mishnah is telling me that for all of the mumin mentioned, you would be permitted to shech the bechar and to redeem psuli hamokdashin. Says the Gemara Hasulamali. Why do I need this Mishnah? We already learned this concept. Hatana l'reisha. We are learning this, we'll say, on the opening Mishnah of this parak. Al elu mumin shochtin es habachar. So we already learned this. All the mumin mentioned over here in this particular parak are all the types of mumin for which you are permitted to shech the bachar. To which I'll tell you why. Seifa itzrichalei. I need it for the seifa, for the second part of the Mishnah. Psuli hamukdashin niftin aleim. That these are the types of mumin for which you are permitted to go ahead and redeem psuli hamukdashin. So the Gemara says, Hanami pshita. That's also obvious. After all, mishchat shachtinan bifrak mibai. Says the Gemara, that's also obvious. If at the end of the day, we'll say generally again, these two concepts go hand in hand. Whatever is the type of mum for which you would be permitted to go ahead and shech the bechar is the same type of mum for which you would be permitted to go ahead and redeem psuli hamukdashin. Ela aidi ditana shlosha hosif. Supposed to listen to this. So Rabbi Gemara says, in fact, this Mishnah is referencing yesterday's Mishnah, where Ayala came along and added on 3 additional psulin that the Rabbanon had never heard of before. Va'amrulo, and the rabbi said to Ayala, Lo shamanu aselu, that we never heard these particular psulin. Vikatani, and then they're mentioning in the Mishnah, v'asi diyichida v'kasasim labakulhu. So I'll say ultimately again, this Mishnah is coming to explain that the additional psulin added on by Ayala in yesterday's Mishnah were in fact accepted by Chazal, accepted as part of the codification of the Mishnah, as part of the codification of Halacha, as bona fide psulin. Bekulu al elu mumin shochten es habachar upsuli hamukdashin niftin. So to also include the mumin mentioned in yesterday's Mishnah, the mumin as articulated by Ayala, that even though they were originally mentioned as a das yachid, as an individual opinion, they ultimately become accepted as part of the ongoing list of mumin. Good, says the Mishnah. ve'elu shochtin alein. Excuse me. Ve'elu she'in shochtin alein. Lo b'mikdash v'lo b'medina. So we'll say now we come to a reverse list. In this list now, these are mumin that we would not, or they're mumin, as we're going to see, pretty much what we call a mum over, a non-permanent mum. So because of that, on a bechor animal, you would not be permitted to shech the bechor, and on psuli hamukdashin, you would not be permitted to go ahead and redeem them. So ve'elu she'in shochtin aleim lo b'mikdash lo medina. So we'll say, these are, now what's interesting about this list is as follows. Literally translated, these are the type of mumin in a bechor animal that you would not be permitted to shech them in the Beis HaMikdash or in the Medina. So we'll say, what does this mean? So remember again, I mentioned this yesterday, but it bears repetition. The way a bechor animal works is, I'm a Yisrael, I give my firstborn animal to a Kohen. Kohen now has two options in front of him. Right? Option number one, offer it straight up as a carbon. That's his option number one. The advantage of that is no maintenance, right? No maintenance. You don't have to take care of the animal. You get your kohanic portions, but you lose out on a large part of the animal. Option number two is maintain the bechor until it develops a mum. Once it develops a mum, you could shecht it as a regular animal, and it is all yours. That what type of mum ultimately must the bechor develop in order for it to be shechted outside of the Beis HaMikdash? We're neck deep in all of that, right? So that's what we've been studying. Now the Mishnah says there's a third category or a second category of mumin. Mumin which are enough to prevent it from being offered up in the Beis HaMikdash, but not significant enough to what? To allow it to be redeemed and shechted as a regular animal. This in-between state. Enough of a mum that I can't offer it up in the Beis HaMikdash, but not enough of a mum to allow it to be shechted as a regular animal, what we call the Medina, outside of the Beis HaMikdash. So here we go. Remember again the charchar, the white spots in the eye. So the white spots in the eye are water on the eye. That is not an established blemish. Inner gums that are cut or notched but are not uprooted. We've seen all this before. Ubal garav, ubal yabelas, ubal chazozes. So we'll define these terms in the Mishnah, in the Gemara, but these sounds like some type of protrusion. Now the truth is, yabelas, we saw yesterday, is a wart. So garav, yabelas, and chazozes are all different types of growths of the animal. So Rashi already points out, by yabelas, Rashi says, bal yabelas, kidukimna la'el, b'de'im ba'etzem. So we'll say, remember again, what is this referring to? To a wart that does not have a bone inside of it. Actually, Bach Fish and I were talking about this after shir. When they say a bone, what they're really referring to is calcification of the wart, that it becomes hard, almost, it feels like it has like a bone inside of it. So we'll say, so therefore again, if the wart is not like that, so then again, you can't offer it up in the Beis HaMikdash because such an animal is considered to be ma'us, but it's not enough of a mum to allow for shchita outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Zakein, if the animal is old. Chola, the animal is sick. Mizuam, the animal smells bad. Vishnevda ba'avera, or the animal was involved in an act of immorality. Vishehemis adama pi edechad, or it killed someone, but there was only one witness. You will say, obviously, if an animal killed someone and there are two witnesses, what happens? You kill the animal, right? This is an animal that killed someone, but there's only edechad. Oal pi bailim. Or it's the owners who tell us that their animals, right? The owner tells you his animal killed someone. So we'll say these are all examples of animals which, again, cannot be offered up in the Beis HaMikdash, but yet do not have a significant enough mum so as to allow its regular shchita outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Similarly, again, the tumtum, the androgynous. If you have an animal that's a tumtum, so we'll remember again, just to get our terms correct, tumtum is an animal that has some type of membrane over the reproductive organs, which prevents us from seeing the gender of the animal. Androgynous is an animal which has both types of reproductive organs. So these types of animals, lo b'mikdash, lo b'medina, cannot be offered up in the Beis HaMikdash, nor can they be shechted as regular animals outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Rabbi Shimon says, Ein lecha mum gadol mizeh. So Rabbi Shimon says, talking about an androgynous, there is no greater mum than being an androgynous. And therefore, again, I'll say, if you look at Rashi, Ein lecha mum gadol mizeh, androgynous kai, The b'makom nekevos have kamum v'havi kibachar ba'mum v'nishchat b'medina v'asar b'giz. This is actually very interesting. Rabbi Shimon holds that an androgynous animal is considered to be like a zachar. What about the nekevos? What about the female reproductive organs? Rabbi Shimon views that as a mum. So interestingly enough, he views the animal as a zachar that has a mum, enough of a significant mum that would allow for its shchita outside of the Beis HaMikdash. So interestingly enough, Fanand Machlokas regarding androgynous. The Chachamim say, Eino Bechar Ela Nigzaz V'ne'evad. We'll say, interestingly enough, the Chachamim say, even better, they say androgynous is a beria b'fnei atzma. It's not zachar or nekeva. Because it's not zachar and nekeva, therefore what? It's just a regular animal, has no kidushas bachar. And therefore forget about shchita. We'll say, what else can you do? You can shear it and you can work it. Because remember again, when it comes to a bechor animal, we'll say a bechor animal, even if you have the right to shecht it because of a mum, it still retains some of its residual kiddush. And therefore giza va'avo, the shearing it and working it, are going to be asa. So we'll say, three-way machlokas when it comes to androgynous. Tanakama says, it's kind of like in that no man's land, that nishtahin, nishtaher status, where ultimately, again, I can't offer it up as a carbon, but I also can't shecht it based on its mum. Rabbi Shimon telling me that it's a zachar with a mum. Chachamim is saying it's not even a bechar, right? It's beria b'fnei atzma, and therefore, again, it's a totally permitted animal. Good. Says the Gemara, the garav lo. Now, is that telling me, the Gemara says that garav is not a mum gomer, that would allow ultimately again for the shechita of the animal. V'haksiv garav ba'oraisa. So I'll say ultimately again the pasuk specifically speaks about a garav, averes o shavar o charas o yabeles o garav o yalefes. Similarly again the Gemara says v'chazazis lo is chazazis. So we'll say these are all types of growths on the animal. A chazazis is not a mum. V'haksiv yalefes ba'oraisa. V'tanya, garav, so we'll say, and yet we learned in a brayso that what do these items mean? Garav, zacheres. So it says we're going to see these are different types of boils. So garav is cheres, which I will say literally means earthenware. We'll define this in just a moment. Well, Rashi says shchin shekasa kecheres. It's a type of boil that is as hard as earthenware. Yalafes zuchazozis hamitzris. The alefes is this chazaz. We're going to this Egyptian type boil. Lama nikra shma yalefes. Why is it called the yalefes? Shemelafefes v'holeches ad yom hamisa. Because it never heals. Literally, once you get it, it's your lifelong friend. It accompanies you until the day that you die. So what do you see from here? You see from here that all of these things mentioned in the Mishnah, which the Mishnah mentions as a non-mum gamor, seem to be listed midaraisa as a mum gamor, in which case if the bechor animal presents with these particular conditions, that should be enough of a mum that would allow for the immediate shechita of the animal. To which the Gemara says, Bishlam achazazis lo kasha. So there's no contradiction within the chazazis. Kan bechazazis hamitzris, kan bechazazis da'alma. One is talking about an Egyptian chazazis. Both say that's the type of chazazis, that's the type of boil, that's a mum. Whereas the Mishnah is talking about a regular boil. So a regular boil is bad enough that you can't offer up the animal as a carbon in the Beis HaMikdash, but not significant enough that it should allow ultimately again for the shechita of the bechar. Ela garav agarav kasha. But what do you do about the garav? So the garav agarav nami lo kasha. Ha belach, ha biyavish. One is talking about a moist boil. One is talking about a dry boil. Loch issi, the moist boil will heal. Yavish lo missi, the dry boil will not heal. V'lach missi, is that true that the moist boil will heal? V'haksiv, yakicha Hashem b'shchin mitzrayim. Kadosh Baruch Hu will strike you with the shchin, with the boils of Egypt. Umidichsev ubacheres, and since he's lashon of cheres, harigarav lach amar. So ultimately, again, it seems to be talking about what? A garav that's lach, and we see that it doesn't heal. V'kamar shalutucha lihirape, and it says you cannot be healed from it. Ella tlasahavu. Rather, there are three different types of boils. Bikra yavesh beimi bifnim beimi bachutz. So I'll say the boil of the pasuk which never heals is a boil that is dry on the outside and on the inside. The masnisin, the Mishnah's boil, which does heal over time, lach mi bachutz mi bifnim, is moist on the inside and on the outside. Dimitzrayim, the Egyptian boil, which also does not heal, Yavesh mi bifnim v'lach mi bachutz, is dry on the outside, but moist on the outside. D'chsev vayishchin abu ba'os poreach ba'adam. Good. V'azakin v'achol v'amizum. So we'll say next set, right? The old animal, sick animal, and smelly animal. These are all examples, old as opposed to a fragrant animal, right? We'll discuss. Obviously, this is talking about over here an animal which emits obviously an exceptionally foul odor. So again, these are all examples in the Mishnah of animals which cannot be offered up as a karban, but halacha l'maisa do not possess a significant enough mum that if it was a bechar would allow you to shecht a bechar. Says the Gemara, min hani mili, from where do I know this? The Tan Rabbanon, min hatzona min akvasim min ha'izim. So we'll say, remember again, so the pasuk says, when speaking about karbanos, you will bring min hatzon, min hakvasim, min ha'izim. So we've seen this type of drasha before many times. Min means what? Min means there's a certain type you are permitted to offer, and other types you are not permitted to offer. That's what min means. So from each of those mins, right, from each of those min words, we exclude something else. Prat, lezakein, ulechola, ulemezuham. This comes to exclude an old animal, a sick animal, and a smelly animal. Utrichi, and I will say I need all of these exclusions. Why? Because of Rachmana lemeute zakin delo hader bari. So I might have thought an old animal is excluded. Why? Because ultimately, again, it is an irreversible process. Right? That which is old will not again become young. That's why it's disqualified from being offered as a karban. Aval chola dahader bari emalo, but a sick animal which could potentially be healed, maybe it's not precluded from becoming a karban because of lemiute chola. And if the Torah would have just excluded a chola from karbanic purposes, dilav orche, because we assume that illness is not the normal course of events. That's not the normal trajectory of the animal. Aval zakin dahainu orche emalo, but an animal that gets older, we'll say that is a normal course of animal maturation. And so because that halacha l'maisa, I might have thought that it could be used as a karban. Therefore, kasav rachmana trey. Lemeute hani. Right? Lemeute hani dikachishi. Therefore, the Torah goes ahead and excludes these two. The common denominator between zakin and chola is they're both weakened. Aval mezuham delo kachish emalo. But a smelly animal, I'll say, which what? Is not weakened. It doesn't smell good, but at the end of the day, it's not physically compromised. I might have thought that halacha l'maisa should be offerable. V'inami l'mi'ute mezuha mishum demois. Or conversely, had the Torah just excluded mezuham, I would have understood that. Why? Because it's disgusting. Right? Because it's disgusting. Aval hani deloma isi emalo. But a sick animal or an old animal which are not disgusting, I might have thought they could be offered. Therefore, tzrichi. Therefore, I will say the three mins come to exclude three different categories of animals: an old animal, a sick animal, and an animal that has especially offensive odor. Those animals cannot be offered up as karbanos. And I will say, understand the whole novelty of the Mishnah is, you might have thought that whatever precludes an animal from being offered up as a karban fits the criteria for being a mum, which allows a bechar animal to be shechted as a regular animal. Kamash malan, that is not the case. Sometimes, of course, it is the case. In other words, both say it works the reverse way. Whatever is a mum that allows a bechar to be shechted outside of the Beis Hamikdash is definitely the kind of mum. That's what? That precludes it from being offered up as a karban. That absolutely works, but the reverse direction does not work. There are mumin which prevent the animal from being offered up as a karban that do not satisfy the bechar mum criteria. But if an animal was involved in an act of immorality, ultimately, again, it cannot be offered up as a karban. But that does not meet the criteria for allowing it to be shechted if it's a bechar. So, where do I know this from? So the Gemara says, "Turn Rabbanon min ha behema." So again, Abba says it's the same min. You could offer up karbanos min ha behema. What does this come to exclude? Lahotzi rovea v'nirva. Right? To go ahead and exclude ultimately an animal that either sodomized a person or was sodomized by a person. Min ha bakar lahotzi es ha ne'evad. So min ha bakar comes to exclude an animal that was worshipped as part of avodah zarah. Min hatzon lahotzi es hamuktzah. So min hatzon comes to exclude what? Muktzah. Muktzah in this context means an animal which was set aside for idolatrous purposes. Umin hatzon, and the extra u, right, the extra vav, umin hatzon, lahotzies hanogeach. Ultimately comes to exclude a sheep that gored someone. So the Gemara says, 1 second, Hani b'nei katalaninu. Well, I don't understand. If an animal was involved in an act of bestiality, or an animal was used for avodah zarah, or an animal gored someone, these animals are all liable to death. So of course, if they're liable to death, they can't be offered up as a karban. To which the Gemara says, as we started in the Mishnah, al pi dechad or al pi bailim. No. We must be talking about a case where what? The animal is not liable to death because there weren't two witnesses. Either the activities of the animal are known through an eid echar or through the owners. In this case, you would not execute the animal for these activities because there aren't two witnesses, but the animal cannot be used ultimately again for carbonic purposes. So the Gemara goes weiter. Bishlama tumtum b'mikdash lo. So we'll say, here we go. Now we're going to focus on tumtum and androgynous. So bishlama tumtum b'mikdash lo. So we'll say, I understand why you can't offer up a tumtum in the Beis HaMikdash. Dilma nekevahi, because maybe the animal is a female. Right? Maybe the animal is a female. That's why it can't be used. B'medina lo. And similarly, again, the animal cannot be shechted outside of the Beis HaMikdash. Why? Dilma zacharu, because ultimately, again, maybe it's a zachar. So you will say, tumtum is complicated. Why? Because the animal has a definitive gender. What's our problem? We just don't know what it is. So therefore, I understand I can't offer up a tumtum in the Beis HaMikdash because it may be the wrong gender. Right? I also can't shecht it. I just can't shecht it outside of the Beis HaMikdash because it may be a male bechor. So I'm stuck. But that's beimuma. So the Gemara says ella androgynous. But let's analyze the androgynous case. Bishlam mikdash lo dilma nekevahi. So I understand I can't offer up an androgynous as a karban. Why? Because maybe it's the wrong gender, maybe it's a female. Ella b'medina. But what about shechting it outside of the Beis HaMikdash? After all, nehi dezachahu te'aset nakvus charetz v'yishchot Allah. Why don't we say that an androgynous, because an androgynous so possesses male reproductive organs, let's say that ultimately, again, it's a male animal, and the nakvos, right, the female reproductive organs represent a cut, right? Represent a blemish in the animal, the type of mum ultimately, again, which would disqualify it, right? And allow it to be, not disqualified, but a type of mum which would allow it to be shechted as a bachar bal mum. In other words, there's a way to remedy that situation. View it as a zocher with a mum. Amr Abaye, Amr Kra, O Charutz, O Shavar. So we'll say, so the pasuk when speaking about mumin speaks about the charetz or a shavar. Charetz dumya de shavar. So we'll say charetz means it has a cut, like a charetz. So what does this mean? The Torah equates charetz to shavar. How so? So the Gemara says, Mash shavar b'makom etzem. Just like ultimately again, shavar means it's broken in the place of a bone. Af charetz b'makom etzem. So too the cut that the Torah discusses ultimately again as a mum is a cut that is on the bone. So it's therefore again the female reproductive organs which the Gemara wants to go ahead and look at as a cut in the flesh won't satisfy the criteria as charetz. Why? Because it's not on the bone. It's not on the bone. Rava Amarava says, below shavar nami lo matzis amrit charutz makom basar have muma. So Rava says as follows: even without this drasha of shavar, you also could not say that a cut. You say charutz makom basar means the animal has a cut in the place of its flesh that cannot constitute a mum, and I'll tell you why. Di sakadai have muma. Kevan da amar garav zeu cheres. Going back to our garav discussions, our boil discussions. So the garav was identified as the cheres boil, which is called the cheres because it is dry and it is hard. So michras charetz, that type of boil, it actually creates an indentation in the skin. Dichsev umar ehu amok min ha'ar kemarichama ha'amuka min hatzel. Ultimately, able to say that type of boil goes deep into the flesh, deep like the shade is on the sun. If that's the case, let the Torah just write the mum of charetz by garav, and you wouldn't need charav. Va'amina charetz the lo ma'is have muma. If ultimately again charetz, we'll say which what is not disgusting, right? Is not ma'os because it's just a cut in the flesh. Ultimately is a mum. Garav the ma'os l'kol shekin. Because of Rahmana Garav Lememar, the Charetz B'makom Basar L'Havi Muma. So therefore I will say, the Torah is God to teach me a very important yesod, which is a cut in the flesh is not a mum. So I will say this is indeed halacha l'maisa, which is actually quite fascinating. This idea that a cut on the bone is considered to be a mum, but a cut in the flesh is not a mum. Therefore, the Gemara says this strategy of looking at the androgynous as a male animal and looking at the female reproductive organs as a cut in the flesh will not work, because a cut in the flesh by definition is not a disqualifying mum. Now obviously that itself is subject to machlokes. How do we know that? Because Rabbi say ultimately Rabbi Shimon clearly views it as a mum. Right, that was Rabbi Shimon's shita in Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon says the androgynous is a male animal and we look at the female reproductive organs as a mum. So obviously again that is subject to machlokes, but it's according to Tanna Kama. The reason Tanna Kama disagrees with Rabbi Shimon is because halacha l'maisa cut in the flesh is not a mum. Good. Weiter. So says the Gemara. Ka'abai lo amar. So Rabbi Shmuel amar ein lecha mum gadol mizeh. So Rabbi Shmuel in the Mishnah said that, remember again, androgynous is a beria bifnei atzma, right? There's an entity unto itself. And therefore he actually holds that halacha l'maisa you can shecht an androgynous outside of the base of Mikdash. Why? Because remember he holds it's not even a bechar, right? It's not a zochar, it's nothing, it's something else. So ka'abaye lo amar, so ultimately he does not subscribe to the view of Abaye, because charetz the dumya the shavar lo amrinan, because he does not subscribe to the idea that charetz, that a cut in the flesh has to be like a shavar which is on the bone. That just like shavar is on the bone, so to charetz is on the bone. Kirava nami lo amar, he also doesn't hold like Rava, dilma hacha de lo minkara. Dilma heicha de lo minkar. Look at Rashi for just a moment. Rashi says over here, Dilma nami didaikinan de charetz b'makom basar lahavimuma heicha de lo minkar charetz kolkach kinekvus shal behema aval heicha de minkar mum rak karina bay. So also Rabbi Shmuel will hold halacha l'mais like this. Maybe you could say that a cut in the place of flesh is not considered to be a cut in a place where the cut is not so recognizable. But in the case of the animal possesses female reproductive organs, where the quote-unquote cut is exceptionally recognizable, then halacha l'maisa that will be called a charetz, even though again it is not on the place of the bone. Good. So we'll say, so again, essentially what the Gemara is telling me over here is that halacha l'maisa, this notion of a cut in the place of the flesh that is not on the bone, is that a mum or not, in and of itself is a subject of fundamental machlokes. Mem Aleph Amud Beis. Boy Rava. So also here we go. Rava asked the following shayla. My time with Rabbi Shmuel. What is Rabbi Shmuel's lashon? So remember again, Rabbi Shmuel in the Mishnah said his lashon was Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Shmuel's lashon was there is no greater mum than the androgynous mum. Right, and that animal is considered to be a baal mum. So the Gemara says, what is Rabbi Shmuel's logic? Mifshat pshitale, androgynous b'charhu umuma imo, o dilma sapuki misapkile. Suppose to listen to this. So what's Rabbi Shmuel's shita? Is Rabbi Shmuel saying that an androgynous is a bachar? An androgynous, Rabbi say, at the end of the day, is a male animal. But why is it permitted? Because mumo imo. Because halacha l'maisa, it is a male animal with a clearly defined mum. And that mum, which in this case again is the female reproductive organs, allows it to be shechted. So is that what he's saying? Odilma, the other possibility is, sapuki misapkile. He's not sure about the status of the animal. Vim tim salomar ka'amar. And really what he's saying is, im tim salomar. Tim salomar means if you want to say, im tim salomar b'charhu hare mumo imo. So what he wants to say is like this. See, maybe Rabbi Shmuel is saying like this. I don't know what an androgynous is, but here's what I know. If it's a female, then what? It's not a bachar. Nothing to talk about. You can do whatever you want with the animal. And if it's a male, then what? It has a mum. So we'll say, so you hear what we're asking over here? What is Rabbi Shmuel's shita? Is Rabbi Shmuel clear that an androgynous is a male? It's a male animal, but it has a mum and therefore it can be shechted? or it's that Rabbi Shmuel is not sure what the gender of the animal is, but he says either way you can shecht it. If it's a female, then of course it's not a bechar, and therefore can be shechted. And even if it's a male, it has a mum which would allow it to be shechted. Look at Rashi just a moment. Odima sapukim v'sapkile, top Rashi. Im zacharu im nekevahu v'hai dikamar mumo imo im timtzalomar. What's im timtzalomar means? If you want to say. Im timtzalomar safek bechar hari mumo imo. To which the Gemara says, you'll say to yourself, Nebosai, the truth is, lamay nafkamino. Who cares? Meaning, at the end of the day, the result is the same, which is you can shech the animal, right? At the end of the day, I will say, no matter which way you're okay, so if Rabbi Shmuel holds that it's a bechar with a mum, you could shecht it. If Rabbi Shmuel holds that it's a safek, right? Maybe it's a female animal, and that's so you can shecht. Either way, you could shecht it, you could eat it. To which the Gemara says, no. There is a major nafkamina, which is lemilka alei mishum giza va'avoda. Now, I will say there is a major distinction, which is shearing and working this animal. Remember again, if you go with the first approach, that it's a male animal with a mum. So also remember again, a bechar with a mum, as we've said many times, you are permitted to shecht it, but what? There is still a prohibition ultimately of shearing it and working it. So if it's a bechar animal with a mum, the prohibition of giza va'avoda still applies. So look at Rashi just a moment. L'milkei alei im amrit becharhu lucky. The bechar bal mum nami aser begiza va'avoda. And I both say, here's what's interesting. So if you hold that it's a bechar animal with a mum, and you end up shearing it or working it to be chayv malchus. And I both say, remember again, what's the imtim salomar? The imtim salomar means maybe it's a female, or maybe it's a male with a mum. In that case, I will say you wouldn't get malchus. Why? V'msafeku misfeka lo malkin. I will say in general, we do not. This goes back to our malchus days. You do not administer malchus for a suffix. Let me take it back. You could administer malchus. Malchus Tirabban, Malchus Mardus, right? You could administer rabbinic lashes, but midarais we do not administer malchus for a suffix. So if you hold that Rabbi Shmuel holds that halacha l'maaseh it's a bechar with a mum, and you end up shearing it or working it, then you'll get malchus. But if it's the imtim salomer approach, and he ends up shearing it and working it, you will not get malchus. Inami, the other possibility I will say, and it's actually quite interesting, l'mitzvah l'kohen. Are you obligated mitchila to give this animal to a kohen or not? So we'll say in the first approach, where Rabbi Shmuel holds that what? An androgynous animal is a bechar with a mum, then what? I'm obligated to give it to the kohen. What happens in the imtim torah that it's a suffix? Am I obligated to give it to the kohen? No. Why? Why I will say? Because hamotzi mechavero alav harayo. Whenever there is a doubt about money, the burden of proof rests upon the extractor. So if there's a suffix over here, I can tell the kohen, and kohen shows up, my dar hagim, my bechar, I say, prove that it's a male. Right? Prove ultimately again that this animal is a bechar. Look at Rashi's moment. In bechoru nosan lekohen va'ochlo b'mumzeh. So we'll say, according to the first version of Rabbi Shmuel, if it's mamish bechar, it's a male animal with a mum, then I'm obligated to give it to the kohen, and the kohen has the right to eat it. Vim safeku ochlo yisro b'mumzeh. And we'll say if it's a safek, I still have the ability to eat it. Kedin safek bechar ne'achal mul l'baylim damosi mechaveru alav haraya. Incredible. Tashma, Rabbi Lai Omer, Mish Rabbi Shmuel, androgynous becharhu umumo imo. Rabbi Shmuel holds that an androgynous, in fact, is a bechar. This is Rabbi Shmuel's psak. Androgynous is male. It's a male animal. But ultimately, again, it's considered to be a balmum, right? The female parts of it ultimately are looked at, or I'll say not as gender ambiguity, but rather, again, are looked at as a mum. Shma min Abosai. Now, here you see it. This is actually the first time that Rabbi Shmuel says it definitively. Shma mina mifshat pshitlay. Therefore, Abosai, it appears that in Shittas Rabbi Shmuel, he is quite unequivocally clear that Allah Chalamaisa, the status of androgynous is, it is a bechor animal, it's a male with ultimately again a mum. Which Abosai, therefore, going back would mean what? Allah Chalamaisa, I'm obligated to give it to the Kohen. And number two, it is aser be giza va'avoda. Sa'ai v'dilma. Imtim salomar kamar. Maybe not. Maybe Rabbi Shmuel is saying still the imtim salomar, right? Maybe at the end of the day, what he's saying is that androgynous is treated like a bechar with a mum, because in one way or the other, you're going to get to shecht and eat this animal. Tashma. So also the Gemara tries to prove this from a brayso. So Tashma, Zachar. So we'll say the pasuk is talking about the carbon ola. So the Gemara calls it im ola karbano min abakar zocher tamim yakrivena pesach alma yakriva osol tzorah lifnei Hashem. So the pasuk says that the ola has to be a zachar, a male animal. V'lo nekeva. So we'll say, so what does zachar teach me? Very simple drasha. Zachar means what? Male and not female. Kishu omer lemata zachar. There was an interestingly enough, the Torah again quotes a couple of psukim later. V'minatzon karbano minaksavim u'minaizim li'ola zochar tamim yakrivena. The Torah once again states by ola that halacha l'mais you have to bring a zachar. So the Avi Shail is what? Why twice? Why do you have to say zachar twice? So I'll say, why does the Torah state zachar a second time? Lahotzi tumtum v'androgynous, to exclude a tumtum and androgynous animal. So we'll say, so the first zachar is to teach me what? That you need a male animal. The second zachar means, what does male mean? What does male mean? Unequivocally male. To tell you that halacha l'maisa, you cannot use a tumtum and an androgynous. So we'll say, Samani, whose opinion does this reflect? Ile matanakama. Ultimately, again, if you say that it refers to the Tanakama, so sveikahu va'asikra limiute sveika. So I'll say, listen to this. According to the Tanakama, the entire concept of androgynous, the chefza of androgynous, is a chefza of suffix, and it's suffix because ultimately, again, that's how the Torah categorizes it as suffix. Is the pasuk coming to go ahead and teach me about a case of suffix? Now look at Rashi. Rashi says, "V'itzrich kra lemiute sveka." So actually, look at Rashi. Ilei Tanakama demasnisin ha'amar tumtum v'androgynous suffix. So the Tanakama Mishnah holds that tumtum and androgynous are suffix. According to the Tanakama, is the pasuk going to come to address suffix? Now, what does that mean? Look at Rashi. It's actually right across. V'itzrich kra lemiute sveka b'tmiya ha'leka suffix hamishmaya. Elavadai mishum deberia bifnei atzmuhu kamamayat le udlo kitanakama. So it's like, it can't be that the Torah is coming to discuss what we would think is a suffix, because in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu said there are no sfegos. Ultimately, again, there's no suffix. There's no doubtful categories. Therefore, if the Torah is excluding it, it must be because ultimately, again, it is a beria bifnei atzmo. El Rabbanon basroi. Rather, again, it must be talking about the latter view of the Rabbanon from the Mishnah. Rashi says over here, Rabbanan Basrai, they must listen to Pshita Lahu, the Beriyahu, the Kamri Eno Bechar, Ella Nigzaz Vineva. So rather, Rabbi say the pasuk must be coming or must be speaking according to the position of the later rabbis in the Mishnah, who held that a tumtum and androgynous are a Beria Befnei Atzma, is an entity unto itself. And therefore what? Mechad Kroi Nafki, the Gabe Bechar Chad Zacharhu Dichsiv, Kamamaati Kulu Minaihu. Both say, so according to them, that one, I still don't need two zachars. One zachar abosai could teach me everything. One zachar drasha could teach me what? Zachar v'lo nekeva, and also to exclude anything that is not definitively a zachar. So I'll say, so who does the second zachar come to align with? El Pshita, Rabbi Shmuel. Rather, I must see that the second zachar, I will say, is coming in accordance with the position of Rabbi Shmuel. Now watch this. Now, I will say, remember again, so this gets to the core of it. What does Rabbi Shmuel hold? Does Rabbi Shmuel hold that an androgynous is definitively a zachar with a mum, or is it still a suffix, but he just allows it to be shechted because imtim tzalomar? Imtim, right? Maybe it's a female animal, therefore it certainly can be shechted. And imtim tzalomar, even if you say it's a zachar, it has a mum which allows it to be shechted. So watch this. So I say, if you hold that Rabbi Shmuel definitively holds that an androgynous is a zachar, therefore I'll say, watch this. Then it works out beautifully. The first mention of zachar by Ola comes to teaching that what? That for an Ola I need a definitive zachar. The second zachar by Ola comes to teach me what? To exclude an androgynous. But if we're going to say Bishmal is not sure about the status of androgynous, it's tirich kral mi'utei sveika. Do I need the pasuk to exclude a suffix? The old to which the Gemara says, Sefer Bosei, the Gemara wants to suggest Therefore, the second zachar works beautifully in the sheet of Rabbi Shmuel. If you hold that Rabbi Shmuel holds that an androgynous is definitively a zachar. Therefore, the first zachar comes to teach you that by an olah you need a male animal, and the second zachar Rabosai comes to exclude an androgynous. That even androgynous is considered to be zachar, you still can't use it as an olah. To which the Gemara says, well, maybe not. The olam Rabbanan Basrai. Maybe, in fact, the Rabosai, these drashos line up in accordance with the second opinion of the Rabbanan in the Mishnah, who hold that what? Who hold that androgynous is a beria bifnei atzma. It's not male, it's not female, it's its own thing. The gabe bechar, tarti kroi ksiv. And ultimately, I'll say by bechar, we have two different psukim. What are the two different psukim? Hazachar v'hazacharim. Look at Rashi. I'll say the Olam Rabbanan Basrai v'teka'amre tefukle michad kra. So we'll say that which we said before, but according to the Rabbanan Basrai, ultimately you should be able to know everything from one pasuk, one zachar. The hagabe bechar michad kra nafkaluhu lo hi d'gai bechar treiksir. We'll say that even the Rabbanan Basrai ultimately learn out their halachos from two different statements of Bechar. We'll say by halach l'maisa, by the halachos of Bechar, the Torah uses two lashonos, hazachar v'hazacharim, and the two lashonos teach me what? One zachar teaches me that halach l'maisa, that a Bechar animal has to be a definitive Bechar. The second zacharim teaches me that what? That an androgynous ultimately is excluded. So both say we end off over here with a dramatic machlokes. Here's what we know. We know that halacha l'maisa, the Rabbanan Basrai ultimately hold that an androgynous is a beria b'fnei atzma, is its own entity, and therefore again they have two lashonos of zachar by the halachas of bechar to tell you that you need a zachar and to exclude the androgynous. We also know that halacha l'maisa, the Tanakama holds that ultimately it's a suffix. The shaila is, what does Rabbi Shmuel hold? And that Rabbi say seems to remain unresolved. Does Rabbi Shmuel hold? Two possibilities, Rabbi Shmuel, that either an androgynous is a definitive zachar, but by bechar purposes it has a mum, therefore it can be shechted, or a possibility is the intim salomar. We don't know what an androgynous is. Is it zachar or nekeva? The one thing I do know is whether it's zachar or nekeva when it comes to bechar. What? I can shecht it and I can eat it, either because it is a zachar with a mum, or because it is a nekeva. But the nafkamina, as we saw with that, is what? Can I go ahead and shear and work the animal? So both say the sheet of Rabbi Shmuel ultimately remains. We'll stop over here for today. I'll pick up at the two dots tomorrow. Shkoyach.